Varsity House podcast is back this year, 2024. I know you missed us. I missed y'all. I'm back to doing what we do best. Carl Jones, co-host. But it's been a bunch of big news. Carl got the Syracuse sign behind him. Obviously, some big news with Syracuse, but we ain't talking about them today. We ain't even talking about Notre Dame today. We got to talk about some of the GOATs, leaving the game. One of the GOATs winning the championship and then now maybe taking a step back into the NFL. But, I mean, it's just been a whirlwind of news recently, especially in the college football space. But first, let's talk about Nick Saban. Before we get to Jim Harbaugh, Michigan, and things like that, let's talk about Nick Saban. That's my guy. I never played for him, never even met him. But, as a football fan, and even as a casual, football fan, you got to respect Nick Saban. That's a household name. What he's done at Alabama, what he's done at LSU. Just the things that he's done just in the college football space, given, with the Alabama community, Tuscaloosa, to be specific, has just been amazing. I hate that he went out. I hate he went out on an L because I was riding with him. I said, this Bama year. If it ain't Notre Dame year, it's Bama year. And, obviously they lost that championship, but much respect to Nick Saban. I mean, what he's done for the game, the coaches that he's put on, the platform that he's just developed and allowed, his student athletes to have great careers on the field and off the field. I mean, it's just, you can't say enough about the man. And great career. I wish he went out on top just because I hate Michigan, but hell of a career. You can't say anything bad about.
The GOAT, point blank period, man. I think that's what's really so cool. I mean, you can use any statistic to kind of just encapsulate his career, whether it's the 49 first-round picks under his tenure, whether it's the 15 straight years as being number one at some point under Alabama, whether it's the fact that he won 7 natty, regardless. But for me personally, as I got older into my collegiate years and you began to appreciate what he did on the field, it was more of his impact off of it a little bit and how all the little sound bites and the clips and how he was a really big dude on just nurturing young men. And I think you see all the the pregame clips and everything that you see about him getting teams rallied up and all his good type of stuff of that nature. It was really cool to see that side of him. And you always get to see him all animated and this, that, but he was really a real insightful dude. Similar to how when Brady went to Tampa, he began to open up a little bit and you got to see his mindset. So, I mean, just we'll never see nothing like him again. I think with this NIL portal era, it's going to be really hard to just be a dynasty and just really just capture one part of the country like he did. But I mean, to be able to say I was in his era and grew up and was able to watch this man is just dope, man, because it will be nothing like him before. It was nothing like him before, and it would be nothing like him after.
Yeah. We even got to, in 2020, we played Saban, actually, the Devontae Smith, Mac Jones team, and very talented team. When you come out there and you play the game, you thinking they got all this talent. They just going to go out there. They going to talk trash. They going to bully you. They going to do all this stuff. But honestly, man, it was one of the most respected teams that we played, bro. They didn't say anything after the whistle. They just lined up and just beat you, honestly. But just the way that they responded, the way that they went out there and played, you could hear coaches on the sideline get back on the ball. And it was just it was no back and forth on the sideline. It was no back and forth between any of the players. It was he always had them ready to play. And it's crazy because when Alabama loses, it's it's breaking news. It's oh my goodness, Alabama lost. What is going on? I can't believe this, yada, yada, yada. But it's think any other team lose, any other program lose, it's okay, it's another Saturday, teams lose. But for you to develop that type of program, for you to develop that type of aura around your program, I mean, it just speaks to who you are. It speaks to what you developed. And so now obviously Alabama they gotta make a big choice. They gotta make, because it's gonna be really, really hard to follow up that legacy. So I'm interested to see who they get. I know it won't be, you hope that some of the players stay, but now with the transfer portal, they probably I know some they had a guy who was number 3 receiver in the country or whatever for the next class. He decommitted. They might have some guys that enter the transfer portal on those things, but I would love to continue to see Alabama, on top, and whoever they bring in just continue to establish that dominance. But, I am a Brian Kelly fan, so maybe it's LSU's time now. So, but yeah, no, it's been fun. It's been crazy, and now we can even, Bill Belichick. Let's really quick. Obviously, another GOAT, mentor to Saban. He just retired as well. Pete Carroll, two guys from the NFL space that are now stepping away. Or I don't know if Pete Carroll's officially stepping away, but Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll are now no longer with Seahawks and with the Patriots. So who knows what their future holds? I think Saban was actually on one who retired. And then back in the college space, Jim Harbaugh, I feel like that's news that we're now waiting on. Obviously, he got his float, he got his parade, he got to do his little tour, all those different things. So it may be a little minute before he make his decision on whether he's coming back to Michigan or going to the NFL. But I mean, what he's done with that program from when we were just growing up to Michigan being the little brother to Ohio State, Michigan sometimes being the little brother to Michigan State. And then now we look at Michigan a few years later down the road, winning a national title. And so that was something that I only seen like Ohio State or Clemson. It was like, if it wasn't Bama or if it wasn't Georgia, it was Ohio State or Clemson. And now Michigan being able to enter their name into that conversation is pretty special to see what Jim Harbaugh has done. But hope he leave and hope Michigan can kind of fall back down to the little brother. But no hate there. But that season, the season that they had this year was amazing. And it was special because you see that if you watch the national championship, you saw they were very dominant on defense, ran the ball. They were true to themselves. They were really true to themselves, and that was a special part to see for real.
No, yeah, that Michigan team, for how much hate I will want to give them and the love I would not want to show towards for that program and that team, they really earned it. And I know you can say what you want about the cheating scandal and all that good type of stuff, but once they got caught, they still dominated the rest of the way, and they took down Penn State, Iowa, Ohio State, Bama, and then Washington. So I think the cheating stuff, although they will get sanctioned for it, I don't know if you can really dismiss the national title to this extent. But I think what Harbaugh what he did, he kind of solidified his resume, and I think that people need to really take a step back and like really realize what he's done as a 10 years as a head coach. Obviously, the Michigan stuff is great, and making that program on a national relevant stand where they've been in the past is remarkable in its own right, especially do it at your alma mater where you were a quarterback. But let's not forget what he did at Stanford. This man turned Stanford, mind you, I know David Shaw held it down a little bit after he left, but he turned Stanford into a national power, y'all. Like, them boys was going to New York Six Bowl. Stanford's academic restrictions make Notre Dame's look like criminals. Like, for real, like, it's so hard to get in there. And the fact that he made them a relevant program, the CMC, I think CMC was after him, but the Andrew Luck days, Toby Gerhardt really turned that program around. Let's not forget what he did with Sanford, the 49ers, taking them to a NFC championship game, then a Super Bowl. Like, as much as it pains me to say it, he is really stamped. He is one of them ones, and no matter where he goes, I know it's probably going to be dependent on if he gets a quarterback at the next level, but no matter where he goes, he's been successful, and a guy of that stature deserves his flowers. As we're talking about coaches, I do want to give flowers to Pete Carroll real quick. He probably doesn't get as much as he deserves because he's a West Coast guy. I mean, the USC, and then you tucked off in Seattle for like in the corner of the map for all those years, so you don't get the limelight as much as you probably deserve. But in terms of influence, and you can attest to this because you weren't the prototype wave looking defensive back during this era, right? But when the LOB came around, you know damn well every single college coach around the country, hey man, I need me corners that's 6 foot tall with like 33-inch arms, and if they ain't looking like that, I don't want them, right? And obviously, you know that as a guy who wasn't the biggest Richard Sherman looking dude, right? But that's the type of influence that he had on the game, and it's probably changed football. To be honest, I mean, there's a lot of like look at Sauce Gardner, look at your Patrick Surtains and guys of that nature who are crafted in that LOB mold, right? So I'm happy that Pete gets his flowers. It remains to be seen if he coaches again. I know he's saying he's going to stay in the organization. I'm like, I don't know how that really works. Like, bro, if you staying around, you still going to have some influence. So regardless, he's one of them ones as well. And for my money, those are the 3 best football coaches, Saban, Bill, and Pete Carroll. And the fact that I'm not going to say lost all three, but the fact that all three are moving within 24 hours is wild to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then also just talking about the college space and obviously the transfer portal, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but that has to be something that's huge, huge. And NIL too, not only transfer portal, but NIL has to be something that's weighing on these coaches, these older coaches. You look at Harbaugh, you look at Saban, to where it's like, I was talking to a coach the other day, where you have maybe 3 weeks in a year that you can sit down and that you can rest and not think about the transfer portal. And that's the 3 weeks that you have between the summer workouts and fall camp. Like that little time where, like, it's no choice. He can't go nowhere else. He just finished his summer classes, summer workouts, and now he got to report. He go home for that little bit, take a little break, and then he got to come back for camp. That's the little bit of time that you get to rest for a guy that's not going to leave the program. And so obviously Saban has been able to been dominant in the old era before NIL, before transfer portal, to where now, at 72 years old, it just may be a little bit tough to be able to keep that standard that he would like to, and keep that dominance, and be able to be, because I know he mentioned, to be on top of the program and to be on top of each, piece of the program like he really wants to at the age that he's at right now. And so I just feel like with all that stuff in play, and then you got younger coaches that are running around, flashing the cars, the cool stuff. Like, you got coaches that can resonate with the younger group. He might just be like, you know what, man, this is my time. I ain't got the energy for it. Let me just go with Miss Terry. Let's chill at the lake house. We'll still invite some guys over. They can come on the boat and do all the things. But he's like, I can't. He's like, I can't do this no more. That's my thought, because obviously he can still go out there and coach with the best of them, game plan with the best of them. But it's probably that off season that he's just like, man, like I don't got the energy for it at all anymore.
I mean, what off season, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
You just said, like, they don't really have much time. I think we're going to see a really big of I'm not going to say an exodus, because college game is still profitable and they make a lot of money, right? But I do think you're going to see a changing of the guard in terms of some of the older coaches. You've seen it in basketball. Jay Wright, the Villanova coach, just stepped away randomly. Like, and it wasn't like he was in his 70s. I believe he was either late 50s, early 60s, so still in his prime as a coach. And he just said, man, I can't deal with this stuff no more. It's too much movement, too much NIL. And I'm not here to say it's right or wrong, but, like, objectively speaking, it is a ton to recruit high school kids, recruit kids from other universities to come, and then also recruit your own kids to stay. So, like, that is a whole bunch that's going on. That's discounting the NIL and how much of I don't want to say a burden, but how much you have to pay attention to that as well. So the game is changing, for better or for worse. And it's either adapt or get left behind. And you look at someone like Sweeney, who how you don't deal with the portal, you just don't use it. Like, I mean, and you see the results on the field, right? So and the standard that Saban holds, of course, he's going to use all of his resources to be successful. So he would never go out or do the things that Sweeney's doing at the moment. But yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting, and it's the coaches who are embracing it. They're not 75. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and then even Harbaugh, we think on his way out to the NFL, is pushing for. I haven't heard him talk too much about the transfer portal, but as far as the NIL, pushing for more regulation in that way, and being able to hold the universities accountable to be able to pay their own student athletes basically as employees. So I love the work. I love the work that he's trying to do to improve and move forward NIL, because right now it's too much. It's too much going on right now. And I feel like I haven't heard really too much about Michigan as far as NIL troubles or getting a student there, having a student leave, and then also the transfer portal. So I feel like a program like Jim really got that program like intact. Like, he really developed the culture. The guys that come there want to be there. And so I haven't even heard too much of the free agency, movement and things as far as the Michigan program. So I think he's done a great job, but I do think it's just like he created a lot of noise. He created a lot of enemies. And so it's about time for him to be like, you know what, before the NCAA run me out, before the Big Ten run me out, I'm gonna just, get this championship. We're gonna, give this money back to Michigan, get, sprinkle some money in for the Big Ten for winning, and then I'm gonna be on my way. And hopefully y'all make the changes that I suggested. So that's how I think Jim moving. So I respect Jim. He did his thing. He's one of them. I know me and you always talk about like top coaches in college football, and it was always, Saban at the top. But, Jim was probably always around that like 5-4 range. But like now I put him, Dabo got 2, Jim got 1, but I would I'm putting him right next to Dabo. Like they equals in the space right now. So if Jim wasn't leaving, that Alabama job might look pretty to him. I don't know.
That'd be crazy. I think Jim done with them kids though, and it's not the kids. Yeah. I think it's just the totality.
The NCAA are kids. That's what it really is.
Yeah, he done with the NCAA. Like he like, bro, y'all suspended me for a cheeseburger allegation. Y'all suspended me for this sign stealing stuff. You know what? He said, forget y'all. I'm gonna go to the NFL where I can cheat and be all right. So yeah, the one thing about the Michigan NIL that's cool is I'm sure they pay high school recruits and send them NIL money, but like their big initiative this year was just paying their own kids. They say, we just gonna pay our own, and then that's the culture that we're gonna cultivate here. I think it was the collective called Those Who Stay, if I'm not mistaken, and like that's what allowed Blake Corum to come back, and like they had like 48 seniors this year. That's ridiculous, and a lot of that was because of the fact that they was getting paid to stay instead of going out and getting these high prize recruits on the transfer portal. They were like, we're gonna incentivize our own to stay. And they created a culture that ended up winning a national championship.
And now you got the ring. It's like you're gonna get the money when you come here. We're not, the money in between high school and college, like you want to come win a national championship, and then when you get here, you're gonna get taken care of. So they had a great spot right now, whereas the team a little south, Ohio State, they're fighting right now to get kids to stay at Ohio State, because right now it's like we can't even beat our rival. We're not winning national championships. Well, I'm gonna stay here. And apparently, I don't have information, but apparently the money isn't as great as you would think as it is at Ohio State. Got guys, fighting back and forth. You got a recruit talking about Miami and Florida. Miami and Florida giving me more money, but I like Ohio State because they're going to develop me more. But like just coming out saying that other schools are giving you more money and things like that is just like not probably good for a fan of Ohio State, because they probably like, wait a minute, why we don't got no money? Like, where is the money? And so, but most recently having some seniors come back, Denzel Burke, Emeka Egbuka, and then waiting on Travion Henderson. But the other corner too, number 7, I forget his name, but he's coming back too. And then they got the transfer from Alabama to center. That might, I don't know, it might not be good, but
put him at guard, he might be all right.
seeing them get players to stay and come back is good news for the program and good news for Ryan Day. Ryan Day got the quarterback from Kansas State. We'll see how he is, but I mean, I'm jealous of Michigan right now because that's the spot that I want, obviously, Notre Dame to be in. And so we'll see. I'm excited for it. College football used to be over after the national championship. Now we're talking about it. Now we're gonna probably be talking about it all the way up until spring ball. Then once spring ball starts, we're gonna be going again. And then once after spring ball over, who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? But it's been fun. Obviously, shout out to the GOATs for making the sport of what it is today. But I'm excited for the new era of college football. You got the 12-team playoff. You got new programs that are starting to get into the mix. You look at Florida State is back to where they used to be. Washington is obviously a good program right now. So I'm excited. There's going to be new teams in there, 12 teams. Some upsets that's going to be involved, but it's a good space. Syracuse making some splashes. I think they flip it. They got a kid to commit to or go to Syracuse over Georgia and somebody else. So Syracuse got some money up there. Don't be surprised now. They finally started to deploy it, and that might be they had a guy transfer from Syracuse to LSU. He hit the portal again. Now he going back to Syracuse. He said, you know what? That's one of them things, like when you got your ex-girlfriend, you got an ex-girlfriend, this ain't good for me. You go get a new girl, you realize the ex-girlfriend, she wasn't too bad. Now you start to think about, damn, I should have stayed with you. She was cooking, she was cleaning, she was doing all these other things that the new girl wasn't doing. The new girl was flashy. She had a nice car. She might look better. All those different things, more followers on the gram. But she ain't had the structure like the old ex-girlfriend. So that's interesting. I ain't never seen that before. You leave the school, transfer, then go back to this. I don't even know why I didn't even know the school could accept you back. So it's a wild space, man. You gotta love it though.
I love it. Yeah, you're right. He lucky that it's a new regime at Syracuse, because I don't know if Babers would allow them back. But no, college football, for all of its flaws, Joel Klatt said this earlier this week, and I think it's the best way to describe college football, and I'll just leave it at this. College football is as popular as it's ever been, like bar none, right? Yet it's the most dysfunctional popular sport out there. Like the fact that we have a national championship played on a Monday, the fact that the transfer portal, the fact that there's an off season in between the real season, like the end of the regular season and the postseason, like with the portal and a signing day, like college football is so damn dysfunctional. Like certain conferences have other rules that others don't have to abide to. Notre Dame gets away with the fact that they can play on national TV every damn week and don't have to play for a conference. I'm just hating. But regardless, though, like it's so damn dysfunctional, yet it's so good. So like just add like a little bit of function to this sport, man, and it'll take off, man. So it's in a great space. Hopefully Saban can step in that leadership role and make him president, and he can fix some things. But I'm excited though, like you said, and I think you hit it on the head. We talking about college football after the national championship. That's unheard of.
All right, well, we appreciate y'all. Obviously, more content coming this year, more guests, more topics, more news. Always breaking. We talking about college football, talking about NFL. We can definitely gonna be talking about it as we get through the playoffs. March Madness is probably gonna be here before we know it. And then obviously NBA postseason, All-Star, all that stuff is going to be here too before we know it. So, Carl, again, appreciate you coming on. Great college football season. It's been fun. My pick didn't win the national championship at all. So, hopefully next year I'm a little bit better at it. Signing out, Varsity House Podcast. I'm your host, Shaun Crawford, co-host Carl Jones. Have a good one.